At the Maryknoll office, we have a jackfruit tree out in front. And last year, it lost all of its leaves and looked completely dead. So I asked the guards to cut it down. And they cut off all of the limbs, but they left the trunk standing. And I found that rather confusing. And then I was really surprised when the limbs grew back and it started to produce fruit abundantly again. The guards knew more about pruning than I do. And Jesus, in his time, knew that pruning is important when it comes to our spiritual life. If we want to grow, to produce real fruit, to develop our relationship with God and with our brothers and sisters, we need to prune away all of our attitudes and behaviors that block that growth. In our personal lives, we are called to loving, life-giving relationships with God and with our brothers and sisters. But our sinfulness, our weakness, our bad attitudes get in the way. And so we need to prune what keeps us from loving the way that Jesus does. Attitudes of greed and selfishness, exaggerated ambition, disrespect, superiority over others, all of those cause us to lose sight of our goal of loving others. Attitudes of discrimination and prejudice and racism and sexism, nationalism, can keep us from seeing others as equals, as our brothers and sisters. And then some of our behaviors, things of gossip and drinking and unwarranted sex, consumerism, destruction of the environment, all of those can poison our relationships with others who are also children of God. All of these need to be pruned away if we really want to follow Jesus. Pruning is necessary in the church also, both in the larger church and in our English community. In the larger church, we tend to think that the church and its practices that we grew up with are normal, are correct, are God's will. But so much of the church's style and of its practices, they're not something that were given to us from God. They may even be opposed to what God wants. But over the centuries, they have become the norm. They have become familiar and comfortable to us. Do you remember in the Gospel, Jesus criticized the Pharisees for having long tassels on their garments and for wearing broad phylacteries on their forehead? If Jesus came today and saw some of our bishops and cardinals running around in their red and white outfits with their pointy hats and their croziers, what do you think Jesus would say? Who are these people? What are they doing? Jesus taught us that we're all equals. We're all brothers and sisters. And he confirmed that idea by becoming one of us. Things like special dress and marks of honor and respect are clues that maybe we have lost sight of the vision that Jesus had. And we need to prune away the things that keep us from meeting others as brothers and sisters, as family, as Jesus did. In our smaller local English community, are there things that need to be pruned? We're called to be brothers and sisters, to celebrate God's love for us, to offer that love to others through our service. Is that how other people see us? The Buddhists who see us, is that how they would think of us? Would they know from our actions that that is what Jesus has taught us? Or would they see something else that didn't come from Jesus? What might need to be pruned away in our church thinking and in our behavior? In real life now, our church has been pruned by the pandemic. COVID-19 has done away with a lot that was familiar and comfortable and what we considered the norm. Our familiar schedules and routines, our large gatherings with enthusiastic singing, our coming together to be friends, to socialize, to offer mutual support. All of that has been taken away. And now, looking ahead to when we might be able to meet again, who knows when that will be, what do we want our church community to look like then? What should we add to our community life? What should we not do anymore? Do we want the church community to be like it was before? I don't think so. We don't want it to be exactly the same. We did some good things. We had interested people who were generous, who wanted to come together, and I think we've done a good job of serving the poor. But I think we've also been lacking in some other areas. I don't think we've practiced real fellowship with each other, really knowing and caring about each other, interacting with each other. I think we've had a weak sense of being a family. And so now is the time for us to be thinking about who we will be when we do come back together. Pruning is hard. It's difficult. It's painful. But it's necessary. It provides an opportunity for growth, for improvement. It's a time of grace, a time when God gives us an invitation to be who we're called to be. The image of the vine in today's gospel tells us that we are part of God's plan. God is the vine grower, Jesus is the vine, and we are the branches that produce the fruit, the goodness in the world. And in the main message of Jesus to us in the gospel, he tells us that we must remain part of him. We must know his ways and imitate him if we really want to bear fruit as his disciples.